Hello everyone and welcome back to another pre-recorded lesson video. The date today is Tuesday, October 27th. So far we've started the book. Y'all should be done with chapter 1. That's what today's lesson is going to be about, is summarizing chapter 1, what happened, and basically the most important quotes, and I'm going to pull them out just so y'all have a better understanding. Okay? I think this lesson is going to be really, really helpful to y'all. So hopefully y'all like it. But moving on, again, we're just going to be going over, what's happening in the book and what you think of the book. If you're currently reading the book right now or listening to the read aloud video, then I would love it if you would send me a message on Schoology or email me about what you think of the book. I'd love to know y'all's opinion about it because it's really hard to read a book and you don't enjoy it, right? So let me know what you think about it, okay? But today, what we're going to be really focusing on is characters' reactions to an incident. There is two major incidents that happened in chapter 1. So we're going to focus on what those characters did, if that makes sense. The important question, it's still the same. How do literature and art illuminate the effects of World War I? The focusing question, how did the conditions on the front affect the soldiers? Remember, that's a really important question for us because the essay that we're going to write at the end of the 9 weeks, it's going to be your last major grade. And I'm giving y'all a heads up because whenever we go through the book, y'all should really be focusing on the mental effects that the war has on the soldiers, right? That's going to be the biggest thing that we have to focus on, okay? But again, today's lesson, it's going to be lesson 7. We are slowly getting into it, okay? So I just want to know what y'all have noticed about the soldiers' lives in the book so far. Chapter 1 does give us an insight into who they were before the war and sort of their personality a little bit, right? How they interact with others, okay? And one of the biggest events or incidents that happened in the chapter 1 was them visiting their hospital, them visiting the hospital to see their friend Kemerick, right? Okay, so again, the hospital scene, I just pulled a lot of major quotes that y'all can look at. In the book, these quotes sort of see how used to death these soldiers are. Because remember, a majority of these soldiers that you're reading about are around 19 to 20. So they're super, super young. They're only a couple years older than y'all. And they're already so used to death, right? This first quote, in his face, there are already the strained lines that we know so well. We have seen them now hundreds of times. Also, death is working through from within. It already has command in the eyes. So the background for this quote is they're in the hospital with their friend Kemerick. They're visiting him. He got a leg injury. He got shot in the leg and it got infected. They had to amputate it, right? They had to cut his leg off. And whenever they're looking down on him, they're talking to him, and whenever they see his face, they're already seeing the lines that they already know, right? The lines of a dead man. He's still alive, but he's just going through the motions, right? They know Kemerick is going to die soon. And the second quote says, they can see it in his eyes, right? Death already has control of his eyes. And this next quote, even his voice sounds like ashes. Remember, that's an example of a simile, and that is a fantastic simile. They're basically saying that if y'all know what cremation is whenever a person dies, they burn the body and all that's left is ashes, right? So they're saying even his voice sounds like ashes, right? He already sounds like he's dead, right? And that simile is perfect. And that's sort of what I'm looking for in y'all's writing, right? I don't need that level of a simile, but just an attempt at a simile or metaphor or any other figurative language is perfect, right? The other two quotes, the second to last one, but as things are now, it is a pity that they should stay here. That quote is talking about Kemerick has these nice boots, right? They're really nice, and one of Paul's friends, Mueller, wants them, right? And since Kemerick got his leg cut off, he doesn't need both boots, right? So Mueller's saying it is a pity that the boots should stay here. This is sort of showing what they think about death, right? Instead of being worried about their friend Kemerick, right, and his well-being, they're more worried about the boots, right? In the second chapter, you're going to see them say the words, the artificial has no place here. Only the real stuff matters, right? And what y'all don't know, artificial needs are like shoes, cars, stuff that you don't really need but you like, right? And what's funny is them and the real needs that you need are like food, water, emotional love and help, right? And what they're saying is emotions and love here and support, they don't matter. They're the artificial. The things that matter are the boots, the guns, what a soldier needs, right? It sort of sees what war has done to them, right? And the last one, you only attend to officers properly. That is Albert Kropp talking to a doctor. They asked them to give more medicine to Kemerick, and the doctors were sort of refusing. And Albert Kropp snaps at him, saying, "You only attend to officers properly." This is sort of showing the anti-war sentiments, the anti-war attitude that Albert Kropp has, and that you're going to see a lot more as we go along through the book. Okay. But that's one of the major scenes that happened in chapter 1, right? Them visiting the hospital, and that hospital scene just shows that they're so used to death, right? And watching their friend die, they're okay with it because they're so used to it, right? The next one is Canerick and other authority figures in their life. Canerick was their school teacher, and he's the one that got them to volunteer for the war, right? He peer pressured them essentially. So the first quote is, convinced that they were acting for the best in a way that cost them nothing. So a lot of these older people in their lives, or older people in Germany at that time, would pressure these young kids to join the military, saying, this is the best, right? You need to fight for your country. You love your country, right? Then go fight for it. And they were convincing these people and acting like they knew best, but them getting other people to volunteer cost them nothing, right? Because they're not the ones volunteering. So Canerick got these group of 19-year-old students to go volunteer, and Canerick was acting like he knew best, but it cost him nothing, right? Because Canerick's not the one fighting in the war. It's his students that are, right? That's what they meant, in a way that cost them nothing. Second quote, but in our hearts we trusted them. Paul, whenever he's talking about Canerick, says that, the authority figures in my life should be the ones guiding me, right? The teachers, the parents, they should be the ones guiding me, preparing me for the future, and making sure I reach my potential. And no matter, even if we disrespect them sometimes, and even if we get angry at them, deep down in our hearts, we knew that we could trust them. But that leads into the third quote, but the first death we saw shattered this belief. So they're saying whenever we first saw one of our friends die, we stopped believing in the authority figures, or believing that they knew best for us, or they had best intentions for us, right? The next quote says, the first bombardment showed us our mistake, and under it the world as they had taught it to us broke in pieces. They're saying that the war and the first deaths and the first bomb explosions that they experienced made them realize they shouldn't have trusted the authority figures in their life, and that the world that they knew before they joined the war is gone. The world that the authority figures and the teachers and the parents taught to them before they joined the war is gone, right? War is all they know now. War is their world, right? And Paul, you can see this sentiment saying, next quote, while they continue to write and talk, we saw the wounded and dying. So while the authority figures, while the Canerecks in the world, while my parents would continue and write and talk to us and convince other young people to join the war, we are the ones that saw the wounded and the dying. We're the ones that had to see our friends die, right? They're the ones convincing us to join, but we're the ones fighting, right? Now the last quote shows how they feel during the war. We were all at once terribly alone, and alone we must see it through. They're basically saying we have no one else but ourselves, and maybe the few friends we made in the military that's going through the same things that we are, right? We can't trust the authority figures in our life because they're the reasons that we're here, right? So they basically realized that the Canerick and their parents did not have their best intentions for them. They thought they knew best, but what they knew best didn't affect them in any way. It's affecting the students, the kids, the soldiers, right? So hopefully you're seeing how they feel about authority figures, and you're going to see that in some of their commanding officers as well. So I have an assignment for y'all over chapter 1. You're going to answer 3 questions as best as you can. I have it right here so that you can see it is this. Okay. So you're going to answer, why did Paul and his friends join the war? right? How do Paul and his friends respond to Kenrick's situation? And how do the events in chapter 1 show that Paul and his friends are old folk, right? That was the last sentence in the book, okay? So how do the events in chapter 1, what happened in chapter 1, show that Paul and his friends aren't really that young, right? How they matured more, and the war sort of affected them to grow up, right? So you're going to do that and submit that. What else? So that was basically it for chapter 1, right? A lot of the summaries. I'm going to do that for each chapter. I still want y'all to go through and read it, okay? So finish up any assignments I assigned this week and read chapter 2. We get started on chapter 2, okay? Because we should be done with chapter 1 at this point, right? So if you don't have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, I will see you here for the next pre-recorded lesson video. Bye.